Hey everybody, it's time for another science lab. Your learning target for this lab is I can write an equation to explain the final temperature when a volume of hot and a volume of cold water are mixed together. Your check questions for the end of this video are: what temperature water goes in the flask? What temperature water goes in the beaker? And what should you do after you finish making your graph? So the first thing you're going to do when you get to your lab station is talk with your lab members, your group members, about how much water you want to put into your experiment today. You're going to be using a tool that looks like this. This is a graduated cylinder. You're going to use an amount more than 10 milliliters, but less than 50 milliliters. It's up to you. Make sure you use equal amounts of hot and cold. And in your notebook on page 59, I'm pointing to where you write in the amount of water you're going to use for both hot and cold. So you're going to choose the same amount for hot and cold. Next, you'll grab a styrofoam cup and go to the hot water coffee maker and get amount of hot water. Measure the amount of hot water into the graduated cylinder, and then place the hot water into this device called a flask. Next, you'll get cold water from an ice cube filled coffee pot, put it in the blue cup, and using the graduated cylinder, measure that same amount of water of cold water. Then you'll measure the cold water using the graduated cylinder into this beaker. So the beaker's for cold water. Next step will be to take two thermometers, place one into the hot water of the flask, place the other into the cold water of the beaker. And using, you can see on the red arrow on your screen, pointing to where you record your temperature for time 0. Record your temperature for time 0 for both cold and hot. Next, you're going to pick one person in your lab group to be the timer. The timer's job is to start the timer right at the point where you place the flask of hot water into the beaker of cold water. It should fit. Place the thermometer to the side of the beaker and they'll just fit right in there. And then keep track every minute. Record the temperature in the flask and also record the temperature in the cold of the beaker. You can see the red arrows are pointing in the data table where you should see those things. There's space in your lab notebook data tables for 10 minutes of recording. However, it probably won't take 10 minutes. You'll realize that the temperatures will stop changing. And when they stop changing for, I'd say, 2 minutes, you can stop. So I imagine that's going to happen around the 5 or 6 minute mark, maybe 7, and then you can stop. When you've completed both data tables for the hot and cold water, you've completed the lab portion of this. You should clean up your lab station, put everything back in the white tray, and take a look at page 60 where there's a graph, and your job is to plot both the hot water and the cold water lines on the graph you see on the screen. Please, you can use different symbols for hot and cold, and when you've made a good graph, please answer the 2 questions on page 60. Finally, please look at page 61. This is where you write your equation. So put in your data for the temperature of the hot water you used, put in the temperature of the cold water, put in what you predicted your temperature final to be, and then actually calculate the final temperature. Put that in the data table you see, and then see if you can write an equation that would allow us to find the final temperature of any amount of hot and cold water mixed together based on your experiment that you've done today. So now you're ready to check yourself. What temperature water goes in the flask, what temperature water goes in the beaker, and what should you